Face reading. Now, though, thank you. A new book, The Scole Experiment, documents a 5-year investigation to prove that life after death really does exist. Authors Grant and Jane Solomon are here to tell us more about it.
Hello.
Right, thank you for joining us.
Hello. Nice to see you.
I wonder if they could actually sit us any further away from you. It's quite bizarre. So here's your book. Let's have a look at that. There it is, The Scole Experiment. Got your names on.
Scientific evidence for life after death.
And it
Scientific evidence?
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a claim, actually, isn't it?
So what actually is the Scole Experiment, then?
Well, what happened was that 4 people who were saying that they were in contact with the spirits of dead people via trance mediums were getting such unusual communications that they invited some professors in to see what they were doing. The spirit people said via the trance mediums that they wanted...
What are trance mediums?
These are people who are able to channel spirits and communicate
just like
with...
mediums, you mean?
That's right,
yeah.
yes. And the professors came along and the spirit team, via the trance mediums, said that what they wanted to do was show that they could influence the physical world with their thoughts from the spirit world. And this would be much more evidential from a scientific point of view than things in the past where, you know, mediums have communicated and, you know, Aunt Doris might come through and say this and that, but that's not anywhere near as convincing as physical scientific evidence.
And so how did that manifest itself? What kind of things happened as a result?
Well, the investigators brought along unopened photographic film and put it on the table in the cellar, and the spirit beings were able to influence it, and when the film was developed it had images on it.
Oh, right. I think we've got some of those we can have a look at as well, if ever. There we go. So what are these then?
Well, in this particular instance, this is an illustration of something called the Germanium Device. And initially, a professor of electrical engineering was along at these experiments, and he was asked to help construct a device for communicating with the spirit world so that the voices could come through and be recorded on a tape via this machine. Yeah. And it was all built, but the professor said, well, it won't work because there's no electricity, there's no power source for this machine. And the spirit people said, well, actually, this is our science, not your science, and what we want you to do is construct it slightly differently. So we've left a diagram on the film today. And that was the diagram that gave the professors more information, and they built the device, and it then worked. And they were then able to have two-way communication with spirit people.
So they no longer needed to speak through a medium then?
That's right.
Speak direct.
And that is obviously far more evidential because there can be claims that the medium is making it up, or it might be an alter ego, or they might be tapping into some sort of superhuman psyche or something like that.
So just to go back to the basis of the experiment, it was a group of people in a farmhouse in Scole in Norfolk, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yes, in a cellar which they had under the house.
And how long did they spend under there?
The sessions were usually about 2 hours long, and they conducted them often twice a week.
For how long?
They did 500 sessions for 5 years.
5 years. And at how many sessions were these kind of so-called experts present?
The experts were there for about 2 years, and they attended about 20 odd of the sessions that were there. The particular scientists who had written a report which is coming out in December, but there were many other scientists in many different countries that attended other sessions because they went all over the world doing this.
Oh, I see.
Did anybody sort of actually see, you know, like a physical person? Did any sort of like physical...
Yes, they had physical manifestations where they were clearly able to see through spirit lights which manifest in the cellar parts of bodies like hands, which would lift objects which were on the table, physical objects from this dimension, and able to feel physical parts.
And did they get photographs of this sort of thing happening or anything like that?
They have got some lights which they've captured on film.
Right.
They also ran videos which they put the camera into a video because they were asked to by the spirit people. The camera into a mirror and just let it run for 30 minutes in a dark room, and afterwards there were all sorts of images on the film.
Well, what kind of images?
Faces, moving lights, all sorts of images.
I think we've got another picture actually.
Well.
Yeah. So what's that, Grant?
Well, I'm going to take you through this one. This was a video camera pointed into a mirror, first of all in the light and then into the dark. And the tape was a new tape brought along by one of the scientific investigators, And he was in control of the experiment throughout the whole session, and he had it, the film developed, well, they showed it through the video player upstairs afterwards, and you can clearly see a man's face in the bubble.
Oh, yeah. Have we got some more? I think we've got one more picture to have a look at. What was that?
Well, this is one of the most unusual video pictures. This was once again run in a dark room, so there was no light there to influence the film. And this face forms as you watch it on the video, and rather than being some sort of alien, as you might think that could be, the idea was that it might be some sort of future potential of humankind.
Right.
Okay. Oh, wow, it's interesting
Quite
stuff.
bizarre,
I know,
isn't it?
it
That's
is. I'm
scary,
sure we'll
yeah.
hear more about it. It's called The Scole Experiment. That's the book. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. It's
Thank
time
you.
for a short break now. But